Ladies and gentlemen, Harmontown is now in session. Oh, yes indeed. Welcome, you lucky sons of bitches, to the Nerd Melt Theater in Hollywood, California. And you semi-lucky people listening on your, whatever the fuck you listen to things on. Please welcome the mayor of Harmontown, Mr. Dan Harmon.
Thank you very much. Okay. So it may get weird tonight. I didn't have anything, and so I went through my office at home and I found this journal I wrote in high school, and that's something that LA people do a lot at special shows and things. You know, it's you read your embarrassing adolescent journals and stuff. And I thought, oh, that's ducks in a barrel. It'd be like, oh, Dan the nerd, like being a nerd and trying to be cool, but being a nerd, trying to be a good writer, being a bad writer, and I'll mock my teenage self, and we'll the unspoken humble brag headline will be, I'm so much cooler now, which is how I think it usually works when you read these things. I started reading it and I got really bummed out, like, just devastated. I want to say I was a vile person, but I mean, it's just, I don't see the difference between this kid and myself, and except that I stopped trying to talk like Frasier all the time, which this kid at 15 is still doing, and I also just stopped like trying to impress other people, including myself. I got to stop posturing. So it's just. I don't know what it is. Aaron was like, oh, this is very. I mean, this is all what's interesting. And people that do those journal shows, Aaron said, they always read the wrong entries. They always, because they don't get it. They don't understand what about their entries is what we want to hear. The Schadenfreude of it all, or whatever it is.
Well, now you're holding a spiral
with 27 Post-it notes, because I started marking the ones. Oh, I'll just read this, and then I'll read that.
I want to paint the picture for people listening to this. This is not like a little, like a little velvet cased, like diary. It's a standard spiral notebook. And how many of these did you have? Is this?
I found 2 of them. This is the first one. I was obsessed with transition, so there's a lot of chapters that happen to this, and I bring the journal to a conclusion at 17. I go, I'm done. There's nothing more to say. I'm self-actualized. The title is Sand Pollution, The Journals of Dan Harmon. November 1989 to September 1990.
Sand pollution?
Yes, I'm glad you asked. I'll give you a taste of my voice at 15. This is how I ended with the first entry. I won't bother to. I'll start. November 27th, 1989, 10:30 p.m. A picture of me on like a bear mattress, surrounded by just like probably just a lot of my own cum. I seem to recall not being able to stop touching myself physically or mentally because no one else was going to do either job. I was festooned with acne, and I had a yin-yang patch on my acid wash denim jacket sleeve because I was very into like Taoism and like exploring all religions and stuff. I think that for the first time, I'm going to try not to read it in this voice because I don't want to. I'm just gonna this hurts really bad, but I'm not gonna. If you catch me starting to go like this, like to make fun of myself, stop me. I think that for the first time in my life, I consciously realized something today. November 27th comes and goes with each identical year, but today was the first and last 11/27/89 I would ever experience. Absolutely nothing extraordinary happened today. Yet the day itself, along with every other individual day of the year, is gone now forever. And it took all this time to get that far. I suppose that's what an optimist or a reborn Christian is, someone who can appreciate every day as the only one of its kind and every person as something unrepeatable. But I feel this renewed vision could only last so long before slowly decomposing, whilst laying in...
Wow.
Whilst laying in bitter wait for a replacement philosophy. I am an agnostic. And I realize that philosophy is, in the truest sense, food for thought. Hanging on to one bit for too long is silly. It rots on the shelf. It begins to stink. No one gets to enjoy it. You must consume philosophy, perhaps after brief appreciation. And how do you consume it? By bringing out its opposite and exposing it as just more sand. It's a theme that's coming. It'll be slowly revealed to you.
Okay.
It's sad in a way, I guess, but the alternatives are unhealthy. I guess after averaging out all recollection, I'd have to give this day a solid 5. I'd made it. I'll give each day a number.
Can I stop right there?
Sure. But we'll never get anywhere.
Whatever you think, whatever you want to say. 15.
Well,
pretty good for 15.
Maybe that's what I wanted you to think.
Well, so far, I'm on your side.
This is sure. That's probably what I thought the first entry of a journal should accomplish. And yet I don't know if I think anyone's ever going to read this. But I know that I'm trying to impress like myself or some unseen reader. Blogging hasn't been invented yet. So I'm like doing like a MySpace blog. So this is me signing off, and this is very typical. I won't read all the ones that are kind of typical like this. This is one of my sign-offs. Well, deep... Well, deep... I have to do the voice. Well, deep... deep night... Is it night or might? No. Well, deep night and weariness whisper warnings of a melancholy morrow.
All right, I take it all back. You lost me.
I look upon it with the usual neutral dread. Max, dear sir, be with me from 6 till 6 on the special 28th, for I predict it will be an ugly, irksome 4.
Is that written by Doug Kafka?
You should be asking, who's Max?
Well, I have a lot of questions, but let's start with that one.
Max, I figured out, because I was like, who's Max?
Is he the Sandmaster?
Do you remember when I told you that, in a way, yes. Do you remember when I told you that my Dungeons & Dragons character, you kind of pressed me to tell you, and I said it was Jim Nightblade? Thank you for calling out from the audience. That's partly true. Jim Nightblade was a character I played in a game called Shadowrun. Nice. Never let it be said that I did not find my crowd before I died. You cannot expect more than one woo for Shadowrun, and if you get one, you have found your niche.
Was that
well, deep weariness and a weary morrow.
Was that a role-playing game?
It was a role-playing game. It was set in the future, set in a future in which magic and technology had both awakened. Magic had reawakened, and so there were like ogres and dragons and stuff, but there were also like hackers and cyber things, and I played Jim Nightblade, a bounty hunter who was killing it with the ladies. So my point being that I found a thing where I rattled off like all of my. I was talking about role playing, and I suddenly realized who Max was. Max was was my favorite actual D&D character. Actually, he was somebody I played in a game called Middle Earth Role Playing. It was, which was a little cooler than D&D. It's sort of the crack to D&D's weed. Cocaine, I don't know.
And if you ever want a musical cue, I don't know what it is, but Zach has queued up some of his hip hop. So if you ever want it, I don't know what it is. It's sight unseen or ear unheard.
Well, when your cheeks get to a maximum redness, all right, feel free to pop the champagne cork with a little brief hip hop interlude. December 12th, 1989, 10:40 p.m. Tomorrow, if one thing goes right, I shall have opportunity to partake in a shadow run with Neil and Rob. Ah, Seattle in the year 2050.
Your coffee is so strong.
Such a pleasant place to escape to. where prepositions can end sentences. All right, take it easy, Harmon. Don't bully anybody. Where Jim Nightblade, bounty hunter, stalks the dark streets without fear. The cybernetically enhanced anti-hero for whom nothing goes wrong that can't be fixed by next gaming session. How I envy thee, James. And how I long to control you again for an hour or two.
And how I wonder why language hasn't evolved when technology has these and thous still are in usage.
Oh, I wonder that when one writes in a journal, one must take on an Orson Welles bravado, although one is writing about one's acne. So that for one brief moment I might mistake myself for you and this world for yours. Also so that I might add to my treasure chest of fantastic experiences, which I share with myself alone after the game has been done for days. You see, reader, there's a reader. So, Jim's world has perfect screenplay potential.
Whoa.
I lament earlier that life has no screenplay potential. This is one day earlier. I don't even know what to write, but I feel a surge of pathetic feelings. I know that in a matter of hours, something will go wrong or right, and for the rest of my life, some things will just keep going wrong or right. Real life sucks. It has absolutely no screenplay potential. Life is a monotonous hairball.
Sorry. My cheeks got red.
Life is a monotonous hairball.
That's all right.
I'm happy then sad, right then wrong.
Wait, let's break down monotonous hairball.
Let's break it down in the metaphor mixer.
Was that it?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm happy then sad, right then wrong, early then late, old then young. These drops and peaks are tightly adhered to a steady flatline that is my boring existence. The problem is, these are normal teenage claims. But I'm not supposed to be a teenager. In fact, I'm not. I sense that. My roots run deeper than any adult's. My branches puncture the farthest layer of sky.
Whoa.
But my roots have yet to drink freely, and my leaves have yet to even bud. Do leaves bud? I don't even know. So anyways, I talk about going to play the role-playing game, and then at the has perfect screenplay potential, as does these. I'm going to rattle off names. These are all names of characters I created and played in various role-playing games. As does Edison Newborns, Melkin Tukes, Raymond Flinks, and of course, Maxwell Artfall. Maxwell Artfall was that was my guy.
Who is he?
He was a bit of a rapscallion, a swashbuckler, and something of a ladies' man. Strangely enough. I mean, it gets dark. I become more and more of a dick as like my sexual frustration kind of like boils.
When you start writing some of the prose again, I want to cue that music again, and I think it might time out just right.
I'll be dipped in dog shit if I didn't pass my road test on Friday. I'm a licensed driver. Yeah. Now that's a real journal entry. That's a job I'm not doing in every other one. It's like, why don't you stop telling me about the particulars of the Gestalt and tell me, remind me at 40 of like, what were you doing? The more I write, the less I have to say. I lost the debate meet on Saturday. That is, Graham and I went 2-1. The other team 1-2. I just had to throw them under the bus, I guess. I didn't go to the snowball dance at school. I didn't go to the company Christmas party at Ground Round. I didn't go to Comedy Sports on Sunday. Gina moved in with some guy by UWM. Gina would be some girl I had a crush on, not somebody that ever touched me. Actually, she let me kiss her under a mistletoe.
You're still 15, right?
This is December 17th, 89. Yeah, I think I'm 15. My car insurance shall be costing me about $100 a month.
You had car insurance at 15 years old?
Yeah.
What?
Well, and a job.
15?
Half my pay at any rate. I was a dishwasher. God knows what gasoline costs. I didn't know yet. Funny thing is, these are my only problems. There are a few more. I got a C on a Brit-Lit paper, and I'm 8.5 stories behind in that class. I have to clean my room. No Christmas shopping done. No girl to spend the remaining 40% of my money on. Ladies, don't weep for me. I spew some misogynist shit. I guess the bottom line is that I need a little excitement or a little order to my life. I wish I had a few friends who didn't laugh at everything I said.
No, stop laughing. He hates that.
Yeah, I know. I come to like it. But rather had a reply that might silently amuse me. I wish my zits would vanish, granting me the confidence I feel I need to be more successful with the chickers.
Keep going.
Oh, he goes on and on.
Oh, shit.
So then there's a page that says December 18th through January 3rd, transitional movement. Phase 2 begins.
You ready? You want the music back? Dan's taking off his jacket, picks up his vodka, and reads.
Phase 2, I say. Fuck it. In reference to the dealings of my Phase 1 self. Fuck it. In fact, I'm afraid the new policy is this. 1. No more involvement in the affairs of others. No extracurricular attempts at hobnobbing. Speak when spoken to and when wit is unavoidable. You know, sometimes you don't know your own strength. Number 2, think before speaking. No reflexive speech that wears a groove in your brain. Like, which I grew into the master of. Should have listened to some of this shit. Number 3, no more somber thoughts of existentialism that aren't properly coated with wit and or humor. This guy's laying it on the line. Number 4, no unsolicited criticism outside the presence of the subject.
What?
You know, like, don't talk shit about people.
Okay, I got you.
Behind their backs. Say it to their face. Number 5, constant quest for adventure. Yes. Period. When offered 2 choices, take the less routine. 6, an 80% reduction of all negative humor. Which is easier to execute than the more enjoyable, refreshing, positive humor that will replace it hence. Well, anyways, suffice to say that the policy in general dictates a more light, carefree image, including in my writing, starting now. Ah, that feels better. Well, tomorrow I begin another mad dash to finish homework in class, so I'll better get some ugly sleep. Instead of beauty sleep.
Oh, I get it.
All right. Cool the music. This is the point where I started to go, this is fucked up. Like, this is really fucked up. And I don't know what to say to mitigate that before reading this. I don't know what to do to protect myself from your judgment reading this, because as I was explaining to Aaron, I don't know enough differences between me and this person, except that this person bothered to write this down, and like I know that this person is lying to himself, but I don't. Me saying that is not enough. This is a Tuesday, January 23rd, 1990, 11:14 p.m. I will probably never forget tonight for 2 reasons: one big, one small. The small reason is that I lost my virginity in the back of my mother's 83 Firebird. The big reason is that I realized what a complete scumbag I am. I am the worst shade of evil you can get. Tonight, I played the role of the heroic super stud to the last line. And boy, did I do good. I said, get your hands off of her. What a macho one I was. I'm referring to this story that I've told in at least in another podcast, if not this one, where the girl I lost my virginity to, I met her online, and I went to her place, and for a couple dates, I went to her place and we made out. Then her crazy mom came home, started yelling at her about a New Kids on the Block fan club check that she had taped together after being disposed of as punishment for not doing her chores. She was 21 and had a kid, and was really into New Kids on the Block. Her mom pulled a steak knife out of a drawer and started yelling drunk, and like I stepped in between this girl's mom and her, and with my acrylic sweater and my little rat tail and my zits, and said leave her alone, and so afterward. We went under the Hone Bridge in Milwaukee, and we had sex in the back of my mom's car. So I'm coming home from that, I think, and really feeling my oats.
Feeling your oats?
Isn't that what you do?
You sew them.
Before you sew them, don't you kind of run them through your fingers a little bit?
If you love oats.
I love mine at 16. I said, what a macho one I was. And it all worked. I was partly responsible for patching up a family tonight. People were happy and safe because of Dan Harmon. And hey, I even got the ultimate prize. I fucked her in the freezing cold weather in a cramped car. She came twice. Here's the punchline. I don't give a shit about any of them. I'm not even going to write her name on papers. So if my parents read this, I can pretend it was someone respectable. I don't even know what that means. Like, am I in a yacht club? Like, why am I talking like Andrew McCarthy in why? I was lower middle class. She lived in a.
She lived on the.
Her name was Tammy. She existed. That sounds a lot like she didn't exist, but I have no reason to perpetuate that. She existed. It sounds like she was in.
She might still exist.
Everything I did tonight that made it look like I cared for her was some realistic charade from my mother's soap operas. Some half-assed reflex, something in me that needed to play life just like on TV. Oh, did I say half-assed? No way. It was perfect. All the while in my mind, I was up at Comedy Sports again, strutting my stuff on the AstroTurf stage. To the delight of the rabid audience that demanded to see the new game called Romance.
Strutting your stuff on the AstroTurf.
God knows I don't give a shit about anyone but me. And then I drew a stick figure that I know is Maxwell Artfall because he has a bandana around his head. There are 3 stick figure women flocking towards him. He's brandishing a little stick figure sword, and I labeled it Sword of Charm. And he's holding a rope as if to, about to swing away like Errol Flynn. And it says Rope of Apathy. Some 16-year-olds don't know how to take "I'll let you fuck me" for the compliment it is. Tuesday, February 13th. This is a little less than a month later. All's well that never ends.
Oh, he's good.
Tammy was taken away to a mental hospital.
Real good. He fucked the brains out of her.
Tammy was taken away to a...
You fucked her into a mental home?
Attempted suicide is illegal, you see. Quite the opposite, Jeff. I fucked her into the pits of despair.
I wish I had another song queued up for that one.
I guess I didn't have to deal with her after all.
My hero.
After I got off the phone with her, when I realized she was a manic-depressive schizophrenic who thought she was a Satanist. She did think she was a Satanist, that's a true story. I felt bad about not giving a shit about her, so I wrote this eulogy. And it says Tammy by Dan Harmon, filled in later, and it's blank.
Show me? Dan.
Like I'll do it later, I mean...
Yeah. Why don't you do it now? Why don't you eulogize her now?
Roses are red, violets are blue. Tammy, I'm so sorry I put my wiener anywhere near you. Try to buck up wherever you are, and I also apologize for the size of my mom's car. And just as the poem suggests, she's dead to me now. Blah blah blah. I mean, it's you know what I'm doing. I'm like a 16-year-old nerd who like actually got laid, and I can't deal with the idea. Like I'm, and it's like the only person that would let me do it was like this person I met online, and she was kind of she was mentally unstable, and she did. It's like I don't know what I don't even know exactly what I'm doing. I just know I'm coping with some energy larger than myself by being a woman-hating like pompous asshole, like and acting like whatever. And I just really the uncomfortable thing is I just really this is me. It's not like Aaron said. So what? You haven't atoned enough with the fact that this is your 16-year-old self that you're not like. Why is it embarrassing if it's not you anymore? And I'm like, it's not that it's me. I mean, it's been a million years, but it's just like it's just too uncomfortable seeing the kind of core of your personality. Like kind of laid out by someone who doesn't know how to dress it up right yet. He knows how to dress it up, but his dress is like a special dress that belies the really gross shit underneath. I'm sure he could come up with a much better metaphor for this. What I'm trying to say. I'm not just getting the same things out of life as everyone else. It's another entry later. I'm only talking to myself on this paper, so I'll just be honest. Look at everybody else. They are so weird. The way they talk, the way they write, the way they think. They're not like me at all. The only similarities I have with these people are the things I've picked up, acquired as habit like a foreigner in America. I need a CAT scan. Maybe I have a tumor. What the fuck happened to me? You notice I'm not talking like Frasier anymore. It was like I needed that first orgasm to like get out the Shakespeare like thing. Yeah. I am like the perfect person. Everything goes swell for me. I have so much to be thankful for. Maybe the problem is I don't know who to thank. I remember I had a saying when I was around 12 or 13 that used to amuse people. I'd say, thanks something. One would think it was a malicious taunt, a way of flaunting my then fledgling agnosticism toward God. But it wasn't. It was a genuine plea, an honest praise, a desperate attempt by me to show my appreciation to whoever was in charge, without offending anyone by using the wrong name. And I don't mean anyone down here. Nothing has changed. I'm so confused. I'm so confused. There is nothing to latch onto. It's like an equation in algebra with no numbers, just variables. You'll never solve it. Never! And don't think that admitting my confusion is therapeutic, because it doesn't do a thing for me. Should I be depressed, happy, introverted, violent, observant, ambidextrous, funny, young, prepared, afraid, apathetic? There's no one to ask. There never was, never will be anyone like me on this planet. And who cares if there was? The blind leading the blind. No one knows, no one understands the simultaneous pain and pleasure I live with. Constantly on the brink of the insanity I swam in when I was younger, somewhere between 7th and 8th grade.
Were you a cutter?
No, I was a viscer. Who needs to cut themselves when they can do this kind of damage on paper? Always finding a new excuse to postpone thought lest I go bonkers. Is that nuts? I'm allergic to my own mind. I am so confused. What will become of me? Everyone else has this determined look on their face, this purpose in life. What do I have? What will I ever get? Where the fuck am I? Who am I? And how did I end up in the body of a 17-year-old? Help. June 20th, 1990. Haven't written in a while. I think I'm going to write a short story loosely based on my recent experiences in life and love. I'll call it Twinkies of Inferno.
That's been our show. Thank you for coming to Harmontown, everybody.
That's not the whole title. There's a colon and then there's more. Twinkies of Inferno, The Adventures of Dapper Dan. Speaking of love, I think I am in love, but she hardly knows me. Surprise. And she's going to college in September. She is beautiful, intelligent, witty. Here's the best part. She only laughs at my really good jokes. And when she does, she lights up the whole room. I'd better put her name down for future reference. And I do. I put her full name, and then I put her address and her phone number. So future historians can track her down. I go, what was it like to be loved by Maxwell Artfall? I'll never forgive myself when she's gone. Never. Time for a poetry break, I say. And then I write a poem. I don't think that song will work with the temp to the meter of this poem.
What do you want? What are you feeling?
It's kind of...
We'll go tacit.
It's kind of staccato and...
We'll do it a cappella.
Yeah. There's not a place that you can go. There's no one here you need to know. There's not a thing... Oh, do you have anything by Dr. Seuss? It occurs to me someone had some inspiration here.
I will not fuck you in a car. Upbeat, downbeat, what do you like?
No, really. Trying to make it work with whatever you pick will be more of a... It'll be... I'll just barrel through it like a Dr. Seuss poem. There's not a place that you can go. There's no one here you need to know. There's not a thing that you can be. There's no such thing as symmetry. There is no balance, right or wrong. There are no words. There is no song. There is no pleasure without pain. There is no sunshine while it rains. There's not a deed that you can do. There's no one else. There's only you. You're on your own. Do what you will. You'll die when you have had your fill. You'll die, and then you'll see. We'll share the answers, you and me. When you were not, I split you up, and now you seek to interrupt. Go back, and tend your own. You'll die. You're not alone. I think that's God writing that to people. There's two final entries. We might as well complete the story, and then we'll bring up Spencer. I mean, this has been a full thing that you've watched this. You don't have to sarcastically. I hope that was applause for Spencer and not sarcastic applause for the ending of me reading my pretentious journal.
They're one and the same.
But you know what? This guy wouldn't care what you think. Obviously.
Are you strangling this audience with a rope of apathy right now?
I use the rope to get away from the women who are drawn in by my sword of charm, Jeff.
What?
Second to last entry. August 1st, 1990, 12:51 a.m. I think that indicates that I've started drinking, and I think I'm coming home later. I ran into some old friends tonight. I was at a stoplight in my '83 Firebird when a car pulled up next to me. I noticed it contained Shanard Dern, Dave Harrison, Mike Musgrove. I rolled down my car window and said hello. Strangely enough, the first words out of Mike's mouth were, "smooth grip lube tube."
What?
I then remembered that 2 years ago I had used that term in a speech on birth control to our oral communications class. Mike and Dave were in that class. They were seniors and I was a sophomore. Now I was a senior, sitting next to them once again at a red light. They were drunk. The conversation was slacking, so I mentioned the fact that Andy Luciano, the sports guy on TV6 News, was at White Hen Pantry. I said he looked like Don Ho. I added that his wife was a Don Ho herself. A gosh Don Ho. Andy doesn't really look like Don Ho. Andy looks Hawaiian, and the only Hawaiian I know is Ho. All right. Obviously a little tipsy going into the journal that night, I think. Feeling a little... All right, final entry. Sunday, September 30th, 1990, 11:04 p.m. A lot has happened as of late. I will not bother to dwell.
As of late.
I have become senior class vice president. The class of 91 has failed in their last chance to win homecoming week. We are truly the victims of an administrative conspiracy. My experiences continue to push me up the ladder towards self-actualization, spiritual unity with thought and body and deed. As I progress, I begin to realize that the top rung is connected to the goddamn bottom rung. So it's not so much climbing to the top as it is learning to deal with this round ladder.
Story circle.
The birth of a model. This journal seems so incomplete with all its gaps and ambiguities. Oh, there's enough, buddy. But I sense that this is it for this journal. I just had a funny feeling that maybe I'm speaking over a decade or more to my future self. And my wife and kids.
Oops.
Dan, old Dan.
Take a walk once in a while.
I may be young, but I do not lack in wisdom.
If I don't say so myself.
I don't know when to tell you this, but at this point I was reading this in the green room and I started crying. Erin was watching me read, and she's like, "What is happening? What's going on?" Because she saw how upset I was with the previous entries, and I'm like reading this and crying and kind of smiling a little. And she's like, "What is it? What is it?" And I'm like, I finished reading it, and then I dry my eyes and go, "I'm not crying because it's good. I'm just crying because my 17-year-old self like landed the perfect closer to a segment." It's like, I can't believe this kid did something right. Perhaps you have turned to this book in a moment of need. It's true, I had no bits. If so, try to remember the spark that we share. And listen to me when I say that you should hang on. I wonder who the chick in your life is. Is she pretty? I know you don't care, but I'm 17.
I know you've loosened your stance.
You must love her. It must be awesome. You two probably fight a little, but I'll bet she's the type that knows how to handle your little mind tricks. You know what I hope? I hope some rainy night you two have a fight and she kicks you out of the house, or you storm out, take a walk, or a ride in your Corvette.
Now I'm crying.
And she finds this notebook on the coffee table, open to this page. And she reads it and realizes that you really are capable of love, though you don't show it sometimes. And I hope you really did name your child Max.
Because you're both Woody Allen fans.
And I hope that he or she is what you always dreamed of. And I hope someday he or she achieves what it seems you were not born to do. Whatever and wherever they are, give my love to your loved ones. And try to realize that your parents, if alive, feel the same way and would love a call from you on the Visiphone. Which now exists. With that, I leave this, the last entry in the first volume of my journals. It would have been nice if it would have been a whole year long, but only the calendar runs on 12-month cycles. People do not. The sun sets once again on this crazy beach.
Jesus Christ.
The people continue to construct their strange shapes in the sand, while the tide rolls in and out. Spencer, come up, if you will. Spencer Crittenden, our DM. All right. It really is I hope the positive word for it is catharsis. The bad word would be absolute draining, like just crippling sadness.
From 15 to 17, I think we would all be embarrassed by anything we did. It's pretty embarrassing because you really stuck the landing on it. Like you really did it with a big flourish at the end. You know, you John Hancocked it.
Yeah.
And also, you asked your older self to enjoy it.
Yeah.
and also to appreciate your youthful wisdom. That's narcissistic.
Yeah. I may be young, but I still have some wisdom to offer.
I'm smarter than you, old man.
It's like Looper. I hope he kills himself as he keeps fake threatening to in all his dramatic journal entries. Maybe take a blunderbuss and blow himself away.
It's there's that sweatiness of adolescence that kind of stinks up the joint. But still, you're still a pretty good writer back then. It's a little Frasier-y at points.
Yeah. There's a lot of
you could lose the whilsts.
Yeah.
Things like that. And
you notice the whilsts went away kind of as the sexuality emerged. There was still some left over, but there was a lot of it's like sort of a stereotype. There was a lot of I was like Shakespeare but bad until a girl let me touch her boobies.
And then you were Kerouac, baby.
Yeah. Then I turned bad Kerouac.
Actually, there's a threshold. I don't know if anyone's ever read it. Ask the Dust. You become John Fonte in there for a moment. And then that's the threshold into becoming an actualized writer.
Yeah.
Sorry, John Fonte, I love you.
All right. Anyways,